We're back again with with my dear friend and colleague. Can I call you a colleague? Are we after 4 years? Yeah.
Mark, I think that is okay. You may use that term.
Okay. Not necessarily a peer, but a colleague.
Okay.
We're here to talk about the eGrocery sales insight online numbers for and corresponding insights for July 2024.
Let's get into it.
Okay, give the people what they want. What's the number?
Deals keep driving deliveries dramatic performance in July, and that helped the whole category across the three methods grow over 9%.
Yeah.
We're still just under 8 billion for the month, and we would expect to probably break that figure 8 billion that is in August as we drive into the back to school period.
Is this sustainable?
What the delivery numbers?
Yeah, because presumably, I mean, it's the competition when it comes to promotion amongst DoorDash, Amazon, Instacart, Walmart, which you've uncovered.
The short answer is it's not. If we weren't playing with piles of cash that many of these firms have, we would get to the end of this type of promotional blitz much sooner. But like you mentioned, we have new entrants, whether it be DoorDash or more recently Uber Eats, who are just luring people with no cost or virtually no cost delivery fees. Now they may have other fees and charges, but they're saying zero delivery fee or 49-cent delivery fee. That's pretty enticing. And then obviously on the other end with the subscription craze that we've been seeing, once you locked in a customer, you're effectively providing them free delivery. And that's the message that everyone from Walmart to Amazon has been saying over the last few months. When you do that, and Mark, I think you guys have reported on it, it does show that there's this latent demand and interest in using delivery and overcoming one of those large barriers, which is the cost to use the service, is enticing people back. The question then is, how do the economics play out, as more volume comes in? I mean, if you think about someone who's not charging anything or virtually nothing, where are they making that up, right? Retail media. We can see that with Instacart and Walmart, but it's less clear for some of those others. So then it just raises the question you brought up, which is how sustainable it is.
Yeah.
Without piles of cash on the balance sheet, I'm not sure how long that goes on. And again, when it stops, the question is, well, what happens to demand? Does that demand shift to other low cost providers when they raise their fees? Or do they just revert to in-store shopping? We don't know the answer to that, but these are the kind of concerns we would have as you deal in people. I mean, you're appealing to the cost-conscious customer when you're doing this, and so the question has to be asked: well, what happens when you stop giving that incentive to use your service?
In the midst of this arms race when it comes to membership and delivery programs, what's your advice to the regional grocer who may like the fact that they're getting sales through the third party, but not necessarily the customer experience and connection that they've sought for so many years?
Well, it's understandable in some regards that these short-term gains are areas that retailers will openly welcome. But I think it's important to then put it in context of the longer term strategy or vision that these retailers presumably have relative to building their first party business. Because after all, if you made that investment, one of the things that we continue to come back to is you need to now then funnel or shape demand in a way that benefits that investment so you can get those type of returns. We've talked about how Walmart is doing that much more differently than regionals. So, I think the warning to the regionals is, be careful what you wish for. This could undermine your efforts to strengthen your first party services if you're not careful in managing, the demand for your respective services across platforms.
I mean, you brought it up, you mentioned it, this short-term versus long-term trade-off, the dependency on the third party and this short-term addiction, to use a term from a number of years ago. It sort of takes out of the retailer's inventory of experience, knowledge, and ideas the ability to operationalize what an effective 1P program would be.
Yeah, and I think one other thing that at least one other thing that regionals can learn from this is the power of promotion and marketing, right? I mean, now if you were on DoorDash, I just recently saw they have linked up and partnered with Max, another streaming service, to strengthen its subscription offer, to lock in its respective customers.
That's because Instacart connected or linked up with, was it Peacock?
I think it was Peacock, and again, Amazon had Prime, and of course they brought in NFL, which was a big win for them. And again, Amazon promoted for about 3 weeks, or at least the first half of July, a promotion for Prime membership, which typically is a 30-day free trial, but this time around it was 3 months of free membership trial. So you can just see that they've really stepped up their discounting effort as a way to, again, convert more customers into members, thereby locking them in for a longer period to extract greater value during that time. So retailers who may be sitting on the sidelines saying, well, we don't have streaming services, we don't have this, understand that. But again, we've talked over the last few months, Mark, about ways in which regionals can move forward with subscriptions. One is to look at their pickup and evaluate how they can potentially offer a pickup only subscription, or a pickup delivery, what you could call pickup plus, or some variation of that, but really focusing on understanding who their customers are. And I would point out that pricing is important to a lot of households. However, we have retailers on the high end of the pricing spectrum. Take someone like Sprouts Farmers Market, who's been doing exceptionally well overall in the market today, and they're much higher priced than most of the mainline regionals, and they're doing that through a better targeted segmentation of who their customers are, what makes them different, and why they shop with them.
And that hasn't always been the case. I remember just a few years back that Sprouts was not doing very well.
Oh, they were struggling, and until they found a new path to go down that would guide them to where they're going right now. At the heart of it was really understanding who their customer segments were in terms of who was shopping when and why, and then really developing the programs around that.
Yeah, and we've talked about that in previous recordings, and I would encourage anyone who wants to learn more about the details there to go check out the library that's available here on YouTube. The team that powers this magic that you see in front of you, they've asked me to come up with some rapid fire questions, and David doesn't know what I'm going to ask. So let's see what the response is. Now, David, the idea here is to be quick and concise, and
I will try.
and not too nasty in your responses.
Okay.
All right. No, remember, no question is a stupid question. What's the impact been of consumers trading down on eGrocery?
The impact has really been disinflationary as a result of that trade down, and that trade down can take any number of forms. At its basic level, it's people swapping private label for away from national brand. It could be reducing the packet size to reduce the total spend per trip. You may lose on the cost per ounce equivalence, but when you don't have the money in the pocket, that's what you have to do. Another is obviously shifting stores that you're shopping at, right? And we've seen that in the flight to value towards mass. And when it comes to online, we're seeing a lot of the same things: increased use of deals. In fact, well, I'll use that as my answer, but I do have an example, Mark,
Sure.
of that. So I was in my local Jewel just the other day looking to pick up some national branded soda, right? A 12 pack of 12-ounce cans. And I was a little surprised to find it priced every day at $9.99. I mean, this is a mainline national brand. Obviously when I'm in the store, I see that, it's a little sticker shock. So of course I open up the app, look at what Walmart is. Walmart's sitting at $7.36, so 36% less than that store, right?
Now, was that regular price?
That's the regular price, right?
Yeah.
So again, that Jewel store is about a half mile from my house. Walmart's going to be about 5. So, but what I found interesting was I was actually looking for Diet, but I couldn't find it, and that was because the Diet 12-ounce 12-pack was actually on sale. So instead of being at $9.99, it was on sale effectively for $5.99, and it was done with a buy 3 and pay $5.99. So you were required to get 3 packs. But in order to do that, as a result of doing that, you saved almost 20% on a per unit basis if you were to compare, that purchase of 3 12 packs versus 1 at Walmart. So, that's an example of a regional using their high-low strategy to drive value for the customer and really kind of drive some pantry loading. So, assuming you have the money to purchase the 3, this is a product that has good shelf life, that isn't going to go to bad in 7 days. And why wouldn't you do it if you're a regular consumer of a product that, has now been reduced from $9.99 to effectively $5.99?
Thank you for sharing the example. So let's get to the second question. How is value viewed differently by online customers today?
So value is really a function of several variables. Price is one of them. Online price really has to be further broken out. We have product price and we have the cost to use the service, and that in itself has to be broken out further, right? But ultimately, convenience, the ease of shopping, saving time, saving effort, are components of it. It's just the question of, what's the magnitude of each of those variables, right? And then there's service, and service can be connoted in terms of wait times. It could be connoted or measured in terms of fill rates. It could be measured in terms of proactive communications. So when you're online, all those things matter. Typically, convenience aspects matter more. However, when we're now in an area where financial pressures are there, cost considerations are weighing more heavily. But when that comes up, we're really talking about the cost of using the services more so than the price of the products. Even though when you look at a whole basket, that cumulative effect is pretty powerful. But again, ultimately, when you're online, it's about convenience and not paying more than you need to. So when we then get to delivery, you can see where these subscription programs are having a lot of impact because they're increasing the value associated with using the service by reducing the cost or the perceived cost of using the service.
So the other question is, where does quality come into play in this equation, the value and convenience mix?
Well, quality can be a subcomponent of product. Not only is it important that I get ideally the products that I ordered as I ordered, meaning that if I ordered a brand, I got the brand, the same size and type in that. But really quality here is in getting the products delivered in the form and fashion that you would receive them if you were shopping in the store. So frozen foods remain frozen, fresh foods are fresh. So we don't have, limp lettuce or broccoli. We don't have mushy tomatoes or over-ripened avocados unless that's what the customer wants. But quality on the service side, again, could be, I was communicated with in a timely manner relative to any changes. I was able to make changes based on that. I was able to decide what I was willing to accept or not accept. So those would be aspects of quality as it relates to the service. So it's hard to put quality separate from product or service, but rather combine them under both of those, I think.
Last question, and I think we may have touched on one of the strategies. And I know you're doing a lot of work with a lot of regionals in terms of evaluating what their strategies should be in the markets that they serve. What would you say are the top 3 strategies you're seeing grocers implement in eGrocery today to drive top line sales?
Mark, I think you're going to stump me here.
It wasn't the intention.
No, I'm just trying to think for a second here, man. This is a good one. Gosh. All right, we're going to have to pause here for a second. Do you have you have areas
folks,
you want to suggest? Well, folks, no. If you're going to cut this part in there, man, this is the last one we're doing. That would be a tough one.
Let's talk about the shift from not so much a game of acquisition, but a game of retention. So I think to your earlier point around Sprouts and modeling who their customers are, then enticing them with offers that are relevant and personalized to those households, and then engaging them in some sort of loyalty program where they are able to get value for their transaction dollars, I think is definitely one shift or one strategy that we see a lot of retailers going down.
Yeah, you could look at Walmart with their Walmart Cash, Walmart Bucks, working with the manufacturers to, incent customers to make certain purchases and rewarding those customers with essentially monies that they can use on ideally a future transaction, although there are other ways that you can redeem those monies at Walmart. I think that's one example. I think another, and again, this also comes from Walmart based on a recent observation, is really highlighting past purchases, right? Items that you've purchased before. And if there are more frequent ones, to raise those to the top as a reminder, right? That's another good way of building the basket. So I think those are 2 that immediately come to mind relative to things that retailers can do to build that spend.
Walmart hadn't always been strong in eGrocery, correct?
Correct.
So what was the shift in their business dynamic?
I mean, they were trying a lot of different things. And then I think, just going back, it was around 21 that they really started to separate from the pack. So this is kind of post the bulk of COVID, if you will.
Yeah.
I think part of it was when they unified their 2 apps and really coalesced around putting the resources on having just one mobile application supporting both online and in store. I think that might have been where, their paths converged and it became a super path, if you will, right? And it has become a very powerful app as a result. If they still had 2, I'm not sure they would be in the same place because your flywheel doesn't have the same wind at its back, right?
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that. We have this internal debate, within the company. For a variety of reasons, we still refer to what we provide as an e-commerce platform, when we really got to start thinking about it as all commerce, both online and in store, and how the technology can influence consumer buying behavior at the point of decision, the shelf level. And I don't think enough providers are thinking that way.
Look, I'm in grocery stores quite frequently, probably more frequently than an average person, maybe even a person in the industry, except for retailers themselves. Maybe corporate staff, I could probably be in the stores more than, but not operations. And, I'm using the app oftentimes to locate product in the store myself, and if they get me to the right aisle, that's nice. That's really what I'm looking for. If they can get me even closer, that's better. I shared, I think, months ago, one example of the utility of having a mobile app when you maybe don't even think about using it. And it was when at PetSmart, their POS system or credit card processing services went down chain wide. And so anyone who was shopping in the store was basically told, come back later or pay with cash, not necessarily the message you want to send. But I, using some kind of critical thinking or creative problem solving, decided to order online for pickup to prevent myself from leaving that day. And the company probably should have thanked me for that in some form or fashion, because that would have been a $100 plus lost sale, and I'm sure they had plenty of lost sales that day due to technology.
Yeah.
But this is where it could have plugged a hole, at least partially, had they had a different approach with their mobile app.
Yeah, I remember you citing that example, but I think it's a notion that we should consider, maybe even some of our own terminology about thinking about all commerce. Maybe another show upcoming for between you and I.
I think it's in a way borrowing from the idea of these other technology-driven platforms who are trying to build these ecosystems with the intent of keeping customers on their own platform.
Yeah.
Right? If we give our customer a reason to go elsewhere, the question is, how do we get them back, or how do we win back that sale? So again, a lot has been learned over the last several years. What's clear is the power of that mobile app to unify commerce across modes of shopping. And Walmart and Target, maybe a few others, have done exceptionally well doing that. I would call out HEB and the regional grocery side for having done a wonderful job so far with that. And, I think going forward, we're going to just see more of that as it becomes more a utility for in-store shopping as much as it is for online.
Yep. Great point to end on. We'll pick it up next time. David, appreciate you spending this time with us, and sorry to have stumped you again.
Oh, there you go, Mark. Well, congratulations.
Twice in a year.
There you go.
Okay. All right. Take care, my friend. We'll see you next time. Bye.
All right. Thank you.